Hi, everyone, and welcome to this career clinic, and very much more actually than that. I'm joined by Kanira Shah, who I've known for 15 years, 10 years at least 10, Kanira, and I'll explain how and why in a second. We're going to talk about, should you do an MBA? How do you get into private equity? And we all know the statistics when it comes to venture capital and private equity and investment. There's very few women, there's very few ethnic minority women. So in many ways, Kanira's been a trailblazer. So Kanira, just to introduce you, okay, so you were at Imperial and you did engineering, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. So I moved to London actually when I was 18. I'm from Belgium originally. So I was speaking Flemish on a daily basis, and I came to the UK, kind of getting used to the twang and everything. But yeah, I joined Imperial doing a sort of in combination course, electrical electronic engineering together with software engineering. So did that for 4 years.
I mean, when I think of engineers at Imperial, you're exactly the image of the person that I have in mind. I mean, it must have been just so gender biased towards women.
Oh, completely. We were 5 girls, including me, 50 boys. So
Wow.
I thought I was first initially very excited about that prospect, but
but then you realize you got to get on with work.
Exactly. So it was a great experience. I chose engineering as well because when I was in school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I thought engineering would give me a good base. Strangely, I liked maths and physics, so that sort of seemed like the most obvious choice then, because then I could kind of go into any direction. At least that's what they told me, if I choose to do so. So and finance was one of the things that was on my mind when I was going through the course. We had lots of banks, lots of other financial companies just come and talk a bit more about what they were doing, and I got quite intrigued by that whole world.
Well, I mean, hopefully what you indicate is, I mean, it's important. One thing that you said, it gives you a lot of options. See, a lot of people think they've got to have their career mapped out for life and they've got to go down a certain route. But like you said, engineering gave you those options. You liked maths, and obviously that's an essential. When it came to finance, why did you choose finance? Was it the money aspect? Why did you not go into, putting on a hard hat and doing proper engineering, as it were?
It's true. I somehow wish I could have used my engineering degree, but I guess I used it in another way. It's just at the time, everything that was going on in finance was interesting to me, but I wasn't really quite sure as well where to go yet, and I didn't really want to join one of the big banks. So what I did end up doing, because I'm quite a people person, I like that people aspect, I ended up going to Bloomberg. So it's kind of like I felt the best of both worlds. You still have your foot in the door in finance, but it's not like I said, not a bank, not a fund. Gives you a broader overview. I got to meet so many different people because you go and you meet all of these different, from traders to equity research people. So it gives you an even better idea. Okay, what could I possibly do with this or not? Because I did go a completely different direction after that. So
well, we'll come to that in a second. But yeah, you kept your options open. A good brand name in Bloomberg. Why did you not want to go with a big bank? A lot of people, they always think, oh, I've got to go with the big name, even if they're not happy with that. What was your thinking?
I just wasn't. I didn't felt really from any of the banks that came. I didn't really feel like I could really, give it my all, because you go into these programs and they were all graduate programs, and I didn't feel I was going to get the diversity that I needed, and especially the people aspect. I didn't want to just be sitting behind Excel sheets, sitting behind, just doing analyst work. I also wanted that people aspect, and I didn't feel I was going to get that at any of those programs. So I did do a graduate program at Bloomberg, and from what I saw, and you meet people, you speak to all of these people, you really try to get an understanding of, okay, what does it actually involve, the work? And the only track I was interested in as a bank was investment banking. So as you know, those are crazy hours. Those are not just, I mean, it's a whole bunch of things, but I didn't feel like at that level, at a junior level, I would really put all my skills to good use, which is why I ended up choosing another brand name, like you said, but in a completely mixed
Well, I've worked at Bloomberg, so I know exactly what you mean. It gives you that best of both worlds. Gives you top tier training as well. But I'm really pleased because what you've said, because it's a brave decision, but it was the one which was right for you. And very often people get into careers which are not right for them, and years later they discover that actually they're pretty unhappy. So okay, after Bloomberg came along a private equity fund, and I think the first time we interviewed you was in a coffee shop in Mayfair, if I'm not mistaken. If I remember rightly. And I don't even, I wasn't conducting the interview. I think I just popped in to say hello after we probably made the decision to take you on. So tell me, why private equity, and why, well, if I can put it this way, a boutique player like us? Why did you go into private equity?
So I did a lot of research around it. Obviously, by that time, I had taken a little detour working in India as well. And I spoke to a lot of my friends who were working at the banks, who went into that career track of investment banking, etc. And I thought, okay, what could be the best fit for me? And I interviewed at a couple of other places as well. Obviously prepared very well because I knew my background wasn't exactly the more traditional one. So for me, what I wanted was a place where I could learn, where the people that I was joining as well wouldn't mind training me as well because of my non-experience, but that I could also show to you in the end, basically, that I can manage numbers, I can do this. So I obviously came well prepared. We did cases, etc., together. So for me, why I chose boutique is because I knew that I would get that attention from the partners. I could work together and really sit on next to you and see how you get hands-on, and also end up becoming more hands-on as well in the process. And on top of that, I like the India angle that you were going to go for as well in the end. So that was another one of my plus points, I would say.
We were very lucky to find you, because for us, I think the sort of the interview questions involved, I think there was some discount cash flows around solar energy or something like that. I mean, let me be absolutely clear, I couldn't have done the interview, but I think Jay, my partner on that, and Nayan had devised it in a way that you could hit the ground running. So how important was it that the work that you'd be doing was of interest? I mean, because obviously we were in retail, we were in retail investments and solar investments, energy investments, or did you not care about that so much? You just wanted to be in private equity?
I know. For me, it was really about what you were doing. So not just like I said, I knew about the India angle, and I knew that there was an interest in energy, and I thought, okay, this could be interesting space for me to learn more. Maybe there is a way I can put my technical skills a little bit more to use here. Bringing my engineering background. So for me, your focus was very important. So it wasn't just like I just want to be in any PE fund at any cost. Then I could have gone to a bigger, the bigger players, KKR, but then you're just a number in my in my view, at least. I mean, that could work perfectly well for some other people, but for me personally, I really needed as well that personal attention. So I know in a KKR, I would just be doing models. I will not be able to see at a more management level position as well, like what you get involved with on a daily basis. So that was key.
Well, I know with us, I mean, you were, we would sometimes joke that we need you to go up some of the wind farms in Romania and have a look at them.
And I did.
and you did. And sort of Nan and I would look at each other and think, who should do, knowing that you're listening. So I guess there's that banter as well, but you're part of the team. You're absolutely right. You're part of the team. And I think it's very important people realize what it is they want in a role. And I guess in a small team like ours, you're able to shape which direction you want to go in, albeit it's all hands on deck. So unfortunately, if we needed you to go to India, then I'm afraid, sorry, you got to go, because there isn't a whole team to call out. Tell me, what did you enjoy the most about private equity, about that whole industry? Because there's a lot of people watching this will be thinking, well, do I want to go into asset management? Do I want to go into that area or not? Especially, and I said to you before we started recording this, we never thought of you as a woman, and that's not an insult. It was just, a team's a team. Did that ever bother you? I mean, I know you and I were at many conferences, we were at events and stuff, and did it ever occur to you that it's so male, the industry?
For me, not really. I mean, of course, you enter a room and you are potentially maybe one of five women, but I was sort of used to that already from the get-go with my studies. So it never bothered me. I never really felt like an outsider. I was always very within the team, working with you, even after. Now, always very warmly received. I never felt any different treatment. If I can say so. So and I love the banter as well. So that was fantastic. And yeah, in terms of PE itself. That's just unfortunately the way the industry is sort of still quite heavily male dominated. So it would be great to see some more women going into that. So I really hope that there are people who could look at this and say like, yeah, actually, I just have to push and go for it, really.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I guess, I said to you again before this interview, I said, it just didn't even occur to me because we didn't think of you as, male, female, whatever. It was just you were really good at what you were doing. And sometimes I remember looking at what you were working on, and I would say to you, and I still remember, I'd say, I couldn't do this, and that was meant as a compliment. Now, there's another aspect to working in finance, and it's this. I remember many times in the office, it'd be your birthday, and I'd say to you, what the hell are you doing in front of an Excel spreadsheet? Can you please just go and do something else? There's more important things in the world than finance and work and all of these things. And it's true. I mean, how do you find fulfillment when, especially a lot of people watching this will be from a city audience? How do you find fulfillment?
For me, I mean, work is work, and you have to get things done. And I loved what I still am doing, basically, because I feel also, because I didn't answer your previous question, it brings the perfect combination. PE brings a perfect combination, for me at least, of having both personal relationships. So you go out, you meet entrepreneurs, you meet companies. You like right now, I work in VC. I have a basket in VC, but you're constantly meeting people. They're so inspiring. So you have that people aspect, which I was drilling on about at Bloomberg, for example, as well. But you also have the technical aspect. So you go and analyze companies as well at the end. So with working on the Excel sheets, for me, I didn't see it as work necessarily. I was excited, but I was trying to help out these entrepreneurs and try and push and see, how can we contribute here? Because if I can do that, and if that means a couple of extra hours of work one day, it's not work to me, because I enjoy what I do.
Yeah, and I know from our stuff when we were doing clean energy and those kind of areas, and of course they now are even more important in the world. But even back then, I mean, you were working on those well before it became fashionable to be doing solar and biomass and all of those kind of things, and the healthcare stuff when we did the deals on knee replacement technologies and bringing those to India. So I guess private equity and venture capital gives you that bigger purpose. And a lot of people nowadays talk about purpose. Well, your purpose then took you to an MBA. Again, what was the thinking about doing an MBA? Because a lot of people, they come to me and they say, oh, I don't know whether should I do an MBA, shouldn't I? Especially at this time, with all that's going on in the world. What's your thinking? What advice would you give them?
So my decision actually to go for that, I was playing around with that thought for a while. Should I or should I not? But considering my background, considering my CV, I really thought it would be a great way to streamline it further. And I thought actually it would be a great way to also discover if there was nothing else as well that I'm missing out on in terms of career opportunities and questions. Should I stay in PE? Should I do something else? And so for me, it really offered that whole window of opportunity. Now, the funny thing is, of course, that I decided to still stay in finance. So it makes makes your decisions easier as well. You learn a lot in terms of from your other peers. And I learned a lot from my professors as well. And it does help to a certain extent as well when it comes to further down the line. I think you see the returns potentially for me another 5 years in more in terms of network, in terms of real a stamp of streamlining for me, a stamp of approval almost, as you can call it that way.
Yeah, and like you said, it upskilled you. I mean, obviously, an MBA would teach you things which we couldn't in the firm, and again, gives you those choices and broadens that. So from you, definitely a thumbs up to say, yep, if you've got the opportunity, go down the MBA route. What are your future plans? What would you go down, the venture capital route, private equity? Would you be an entrepreneur? Everybody's doing it now. You know, would you set up your own? What do you think you'll do? And don't forget, before you answer that, future employers and colleagues may well watch this. So, and by the way, we haven't even discussed your more glamorous career in movies and all the rest of it, but you might not want to talk about that. But so, Hollywood still beckons. There's still the Hollywood route, Kanira. There's still the Hollywood route.
Different way. But to I mean, I spent 3 years in the movie business to a certain extent, from everything from performing to producing, and I still love the area. But for me right now, it is definitely VC that I want to stay in. So I'm actually working at a fund to help basically the ecosystem here in Belgium. So I'm back in Belgium. I want to continue down that path because it just gets me excited every day. You always see new solutions that entrepreneurs are working on, and it's fantastic. If someday down the line I'd like to do my own company, that remains to be seen, potentially in a few years' time. But I am working on something on the side, which basically brings my my film passion back into play. So I'm working on little side projects to try and help film producers and filmmakers here in the Benelux region to get financing, basically. So it's my way of giving back a little bit to that business that I love so much.
And I think we're seeing more of that. I mean, obviously filmmaking has always been capital intensive and generate returns for investors, but now we're seeing the importance of regional voices, of communities and all of those. And if you can marry obviously your finance background, the ability to raise funds, and again do the more purposeful stuff of giving people a voice, then obviously it sort of ticks all your boxes in that regard. Do you think you will do you think you'll return to the UK? Do you see yourself as European? Do you think you'll be, especially now we've got Brexit, do you see yourself as somebody who will be in different countries located and moving back and forth? Or do you think, no, one place, that's where you want to be? What's your
moving back and forth for sure. I have a big love for London. It's never going to go away. I mean, I spent more than 15 years there. So I can't see my life without either part living there, part, remote working from Europe. I consider myself European, but that includes for me, it does include the UK.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel the same way. So yeah, staying stationary is not an option for me, at least.
Fantastic. No, I think that's got to be the attitude, doesn't it, in a global connected world. And I've loved the way you've worked out what that you wanted a bigger purpose, and that you weren't ever pushed back by the hurdles around what other people may well see as oftentimes hurdles. So I hope you'll continue sort of waving the flag for the industry, and also for the sector and all the stuff you're doing, and the way of approaching a job instead of just the conveyor belt, but actually saying, no, actually I want something which fits my personality as well. Any last pieces of advice you want to give the audience before we call it a wrap?
So I'd say just don't be afraid of change. So change is good. Even if you're not from a traditional background, if you don't try, you will never know, and you'll always be left with a question. So just go and whatever inspires you, that's what you go after.
That's actually fantastic advice. I really like that. I think that's a really important one to finish on, and your proof of that. And I can certainly say the other thing I would add is be like Kanira. You are absolute joy in the office to work with. You know, and I think that's really important. That people sometimes forget that hiring isn't just about CVs and LinkedIn profiles. It's about likability. It's about energy. It's about enthusiasm. And I know from so some of the hiring that my wife's done, and you know, Ekta, and she said to me, you know, you've got qualifications, you can have two people, you can even have somebody with less qualifications on paper, but you will go with the one who you know is going to be, you know, up for doing the job, enthusiastic, energetic, and sort of light up the office, as opposed to somebody who sort of sits there just sucking the energy out of the room and stuff. And so it's been absolute pleasure working with you.
Absolute pleasure.
And very much missed, as I say, all the banter and you gave as good as you got. Let's put it that way. And we certainly knew our place in the office, and not to take you on any of it. So absolute joy. So thank you very much, Kanira Shah. We will keep in touch with you, I know, and I'm sure there'll be messages on the various social media platforms. So we'll send you the links so you can also reply back to people as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.